All right, guys, we are live. So I wanted to hop on here quickly, just to let you guys know a lot of the motives as to why I did begin this podcast. I know I focus a lot on the relationship part of it, and I will dive into like business and tattoo talk here moving forward. But I feel like it's dear in my heart how much people I see that are so broken out there. All the stories that I hear, my own experiences. We all go through very shitty experiences, and it sucks that we have to learn how to maneuver through them by ourselves. And it sucks that we don't have, that person to be like, to be there and be like, you know what, you're going to be fine. You're going to be okay. But sometimes we don't have that. Sometimes, even as men, it's hard for men to just open up to anybody. Most of the time we just hold it in and we push forward. That's all we can do. Um, so that's why I was motivated to do this podcast, for men and women. And I could speak a lot on experiences as a man because I've lived it and I'm still living it, and I'm still learning day by day, month by month, year by year on how to maneuver life in general, not even just in relationships, but in business, being a father, and becoming a better tattoo artist in my career path. And we all go through those obstacles and we have to learn how to maneuver through them in a healthy way. So, yeah, I got tired of seeing people hurt. Me being a tattoo artist, man, I hear so many stories like daily. All tattoo at least a good 25 people a month. Thank God I do stay booked and I'm very consistent with that. So I talk to a lot of people. I've probably talked to over 1,000 clients by now, and every story is very unique. I think even early on, I wasn't really paying attention as much in my early years to the stories of people. I was still young. I was going through my own demons and stuff. So I really didn't analyze too much of it up until now. I think these last 3 years, 4 years have truly shook me. Life experience, and it's a lot to do with relationships. And I'll just be open about it, because sharing a story sometimes helps others. We all go through something so unique, but also very similar. And in any way that I could help somebody out and be the guide that they needed in that time, it can make all the difference in the world. And it sucks that we go through these things by ourselves and we feel like we can't reach anybody, in our close circle sometimes. And I think it's okay to reach out. Sometimes as men, we hold our feelings in and we don't express them out too much. For good reason. We want to keep the masculine frame. We want to keep that version of ourselves that's very stoic. But sometimes whenever we're truly in the mud, the dirt, and going through those motions, we have to learn how to talk to somebody and not be scared of going through it by ourselves. And yeah, like women, they do have a bigger support system. Um, it's easy for them to talk to somebody new, when they're going through something. It could be even after a breakup. That's why you hear stories of a woman breaking out. But if that's a weak woman, you'll see her with somebody new, right off the back. It's easier for a woman to pick up a new person after a relationship more than a guy. Um, and it's unfortunate because guys can't do that. At least not the average man can. So yeah, I feel all the emotions of all those stories that I've heard, even more now than ever. These last 3 4 years, honestly, and they've stuck with me very well. And every single one of them is very unique, very heartfelt, and I do appreciate those that actually reached out and talked to me about it. I'm not a licensed therapist, but for some reason, I'm able to see the right things whenever they need it. So I think this is like a vessel for me to excel in that and help somebody out. And this goes through all my clients that I've talked to, people that have opened up fully. And that's why there's that saying that sometimes people go to their tattoo artist not just to get a tattoo, but to go through a therapist session. And I feel like that's very true because you do spend a lot of hours with each client, and if that person is going through something and they want to open up about it, or that tattoo might be something that might remind them of a hard time that they went through, they're going to open up, because sometimes I do ask my clients, I'm like, so what's the reason for this tattoo that you're going to get right now? And they open up from there. And that's just the whole story, moving forward. And it's a very beautiful thing because that's a way for people to express what they're going through. It's getting a tattoo, it's a reminder. And sometimes it's a good reminder. Not the ones that you get your ex's name, because that's not gonna be a good reminder. I'll cover that bitch up and that's it. But sometimes people, they carry their pain through their tattoos, and I feel like a lot of my clients, I thank them because they've taught me a lot. There's a lot of things that they've told me, and I'm like, fuck, man, how can I maneuver through that if I were to go through it? It makes me think a lot, and it truly has helped me open my mind up to knowing how to become a better human being, a man, for a relationship, to become a better father, a businessman, just in general. It just truly has opened my mind and elevated my thinking a lot, honestly. And it's why I feel like I'm in a position now where I could talk about it. I couldn't do this 5 years earlier or 5 years ago because I think I was not in a good place mentally. So I was still doing shitty stuff, and I'm a firm believer, if you're gonna speak about something, you gotta live it. You gotta live by your words. You can't just say something and then do the opposite. So a lot of the things that I'm saying, fuck, I preach it to my own self as well. Because we all fall short in some way, some shape or form. We all do. But it's best for us to move forward with the mentality of doing better. We all make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. But if we choose to be better the next day, we are going to be better off. We can't be going through life blaming other people. We can't go through life blaming our parents, our past traumas, for the way that we act. We cannot blame everybody else but ourselves. The finger should be pointed at us. Some traumas, obviously, I get it. We cannot blame ourselves, but moving forward from that trauma, to heal, to be better, to not inflict that trauma onto others is what I'm trying to say. Do not do that because there's people out there that are willingly ready to be in a relationship that have done the work and have gone through therapists and better themselves in such a way that they become such a great human being for a relationship. And the reason why I say it that way is because right now there's a lot of shitty fucking people in so many relationships that they shouldn't even be in. And that it upsets me so much because I'm like, fuck, and this person is so in a situation, and I see the ship sinking literally in front of my face. I literally see it before it even happens. And sometimes that's why a lot of things I talk about, I know it might be a little controversial. Some episodes in the future, fuck, I might get a little controversial. But for those that are listening right now, I mean it from a good place. And it's going to come from a good place because I'm a realist. I try not to be to attack one gender or the other. I try to be neutral, and I just go based off of research and statistics. Fuck, I read a lot of books, so I'm able to get a lot of knowledge based off of that. Knowledge is power. So if you have that, you're able to understand the world a lot better. And the people that usually talk shit and just get triggered, usually those people, they don't know shit about life. They go through life not changing, not understanding dynamics, not understanding how people work. Those people stay the same. That's why there are shitty people out there, just like I just said. Unfortunately, there's always going to be those people. But if you could become a better person, a better version of yourself daily, that's all you can do, and that's all you have control over. You do not have control over somebody else's actions. That's what I have learned a lot through my life. Somebody else's actions is not a reflection of you. People are just shitty because they're shitty. And people stay shitty that way for a very long time. And it's not up to us to change them. All we could do as people is go through life with a positive outlook, a positive mindset, and help others. If you have a knowledge of something to help somebody else out that that could escalate them, do it. Right now people are just egotistical, man. They're very reserved. And I see it a lot in my career. I guess, what do you say? Not my career, my industry. I see that a lot in the tattoo industry. Other artists, they don't want to teach other people because they feel like they're entitled to that knowledge. But if you were to die tomorrow with that knowledge, what good is it? Now, yeah, you might have done great work, but how did you pass that on? I think we're here to pass on great knowledge and how to become better people. That's all we can do. We're not going to go to the grave with all the beautiful things that we have. Cars, jewelry, all the materialistic stuff. We're not going to go to the grave with it and keep it in there. No, we're not. We're just here temporarily. And while we're here, I think we should be very good human beings to each other and help each other out. And learn how to maneuver through life when it comes down to difficult situations, because those difficult situations are always going to be there. And that's because the devil's always fucking waiting. The devil's always there waiting for you to fall into that fucking pit, and he's going to try to keep you there. So if you were to be more knowledgeable with a certain situation, it could be relationships, it could be business, it could be anything. But if you become knowledgeable about what you're trying to achieve, you're going to be a lot more mentally strong to not fall into that pit. I think we all fall into that pit because lack of knowledge, temptation, confusion, manipulation, gaslighting. I mean, it's a whole list of ways to fall into a pit. But if you're strong mentally, if you understand how the world is working right now and how people are, you're going to be better off. You're going to be way better off, I promise you. It's helped me out so much. People tell me, it's like, why are you so calm? Like in a situation where if anybody else would have freaked out. I stay stoic. But before, I wouldn't have been that way. It took a lot of growth. I'm still young, yes, but I think I've gone through enough in my life to understand these obstacles very early on and how to maneuver through them. A man that has gone through a lot of trauma and actually comes out from the flames is a strong man. Somebody that's respected because they've learned how to maneuver through it. A man that has not gone through much, he's not going to learn how to maneuver through anything in life. Even in the later years, and that's going to be dangerous. Sometimes trauma is a good thing. It teaches us how strong we are. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. We have to learn how to maneuver through those painful situations that we go through daily, because we're all going through something. We are all going through something difficult, but we have to choose how to become better human beings, how to become a better person for our own selves. If you have children, think about them, make them your anchor, your motivation for what you're going to do in life. Like I've always said it before on my previous episodes, this world is full of misery. We do not need more of it. And the more that we could become better for each other, help each other out, I think that we're going to get far. Because right now we're in a culture that is so jacked. It's so fucked. It's so bad right now, and you guys see it every single day on your phones, on your social media apps. And I'm talking about politics, I'm talking about relationships, I'm talking about inside your own home. People are struggling how to maneuver through life, but it's because of a lack of knowledge. And sometimes, I'm gonna take a shot at the guys, but it's the lack of man being a man. Because a man should be the leader. He's the one that should carry that relationship and family forward. It goes into business as well. The man is the one that's supposed to be the leader and maneuver through things. There's a lot of situations that I could give you guys that the reason why this world is falling apart is because men are not men anymore. And it's unfortunate. There's a lot of pussies out there, and a lot of women have to deal with it. And it sucks that you guys have to go through it and maneuver through that and try to find ways on how to make that work, but sometimes it just doesn't. Some men, I should just say boys, they don't change. It's all how you were raised. And I'm a firm believer that every man goes through an awakening. And by what I mean by that is a moment in their life where they decide to truly change. Like something drastic had to happen where they were like, you know what, fuck this, I'm gonna fucking change. And I think women go through it as well. But I'm just speaking from, an experience from a man. And it's that moment that we decide that enough is enough. And a lot of people struggle how to, I guess, make that click in their head and be like, you know what? I'm going to be better. I'm going to let that person go that doesn't do shit for me. They struggle. They stay for whatever reason. It could be a job. It could be a relationship. The number one reason why people quit their jobs is a shitty boss. So imagine your relationships. It's the same thing. There must have been somebody in that relationship that made it a lot more difficult to deal with, or you brought it up to their attention when there was an issue, but nothing changed. Same thing happens in a job. You're not going to stay in a position or in a job that you feel not respected, and they're not catering to your needs. Same goes as relationships. And if you live life that way, with that mentality to understand that we all have our needs, and if somebody else is not able to compromise for us, then why should we stay? I think that gives us a direct answer. In my last episode, I talked about that, where you're dealing with a narcissist and they tell you that they're going to change and they don't change. Why are you going to stay longer with them? You shouldn't. You should just walk away and not deal with it. Because many people, I'm telling you, they stay in situations that they shouldn't. A job, relationship, could be anything. They'll find an excuse to stay, but knowing that they're not getting the full, let's just say, cookie. They're just getting a little crumb from that person. And it's crazy how a little crumb keeps people in relationships. We deserve better as people. And I'm tired of seeing people hurt. It's unfortunate that that's always going to happen. But if you're able to be knowledgeable enough to understand these situations before they happen, you're going to be in a better position. I've had to walk away from relationships that were just damaging. As hard as it was, I love that person as much as I could. But when I knew that they weren't the one for me, when I knew that it was more damaging to stay, that's when I knew I had to walk away. My life is busy. I deal with my son. I have my businesses. I have a lot going on for myself. So why would I keep myself in a place where it's only going to drag me down and affect my business or my relationship with my son? Life is too short. Life is too damn short. And if people do not want to change themselves to become better for other people, fuck them. Walk away. Don't deal with it. Life is too fucking short to be dealing with shitty people. Honestly, it really is. And we have to become better at walking away, honestly. I think that's what people do not do the most. They'll find an excuse to stay. But that causes you more hurt. It causes you to become more bitter. And man, there's many stories where I've heard it even from my close friends, my close clients. It could be anybody, of situations where they've stayed in situations that they thought it was going to work. And I've convinced them and given them an analyzation of how it looks from my perspective of how it could potentially not work. But I think as human beings, we are very hopeful. We're very loving. We hope for the best, and we give people the benefit of the doubt. I've been a part of it too. I've given relationships the benefit of the doubt so many times. But what did it cause me? A lot of pain and hurt. It made me go through this fucking pit of misery. The devil had a fucking grip on me. And what does that lead to? Drinking, seeking the wrong things. It's a fuckery mentally, honestly. But I've had an awakening where I said enough is enough. I've changed my ways. Even if I go through something not like hard, I'm not gonna fall back into those temptations. Why? I know what that does if I go back to those old traits. I want my life to be beautiful as much as possible. For myself, my son, my family, and those I love. And that's how we should live. And that's why I feel like with this podcast, I'm able to express my story and my experiences and stories that I've heard, and I do my research to analyze what's the better way to handle these situations. And I thank you guys, for those that are listening, those that are tuning in. And I will be more consistent. I do apologize because I did take a while releasing the last episode. But yeah, just life gets busy sometimes. You guys know how it is. But I will put my heart into this every single episode. I will, because I want to help. And I'm gonna get better with each episode. I'm gonna be having a lot more subjects. Just stuff that's happening out in the world right now that we live in, and how to better maneuver life in general. So thank you guys for listening. I appreciate you guys so fucking much. Much love, like for real, for real. I know I say that every episode, but it means a lot to me. It really does, because it's hard just to come onto a podcast and just open up, honestly. So I feel like it helps me let a part of myself out as therapy, honestly. It helps as therapy, and if it helps somebody out, fuck, I feel happy. Even if it helps one person, even if 100 people listen to this, but one person listens to it and actually takes it to heart and actually makes obvious changes in their life, fuck, that's all I could ask for. Because I'm actually trying to help somebody out be better. Like I said, there's too many shitty people in this world. Be the opposite. So I appreciate you guys. Tune in for the next episodes. I will be releasing every single week. I will be consistent this time. I know back then I was a little bit, it was a big gap, let's just say. But I'm motivated and I want to help you guys out. And hopefully you guys have a wonderful, wonderful week, whatever time it is that you guys are listening to this. But I appreciate you guys. Much love. Luna out.